Cześć, na pewno zastanawiacie się, gdzie jesteśmy po tych emocjonujących miesiącach kampanii, rozgrywających politycznie tygodniach. Pisaliście, żebyśmy się dali Adrianowi wyspać, posłuchaliśmy waszych głosów. Jesteśmy w słonecznym Porto w Portugalii, gdzie Adrian wreszcie się wyśpi.
Tak naprawdę to nie. Nie ma czasu na spanie. Działamy dalej.
Jesteśmy w Porto i rozmawiamy z partiami z całej Europy o tym, jak skończyć z polityką cięć, jak uruchomić wielkie publiczne inwestycje, których potrzebujemy na całym kontynencie.
Z naszymi partnerami wymieniamy się doświadczeniami z kampanii i uczymy się od siebie nawzajem, jak wygrywać.
Nowoczesna lewica organizuje się w Europie. Bardzo się cieszę, że zostałam skarbniczką organizacji European Left Alliance i jestem tutaj w Porto z naszymi współprzewodniczącymi.
W Porto są też młodzieżówki wszystkich organizacji zrzeszonych w European Left Alliance, ponieważ my też musimy łączyć się razem, aby móc razem zwyciężyć.
Dobrze jest mieć europejską drużynę, w której nikt nie ma najmniejszych wątpliwości, że Izrael powinien odpowiedzieć za swoje zbrodnie, za ludobójstwo, jakiego dokonuje w strefie Gazy. Dlatego na pierwsze działanie European Left Alliance wybraliśmy Europejską Inicjatywę Obywatelską w celu zatrzymania handlu Unii Europejskiej z Izraelem.
Zjednoczeni jesteśmy silniejsi i możemy wygrać z liberałami i skrajną prawicą.
Posłuchajcie naszych współprzewodniczących i naszych sojuszników.
Today we meet in sunny Portugal, but even here the sky is obviously getting clouded. In the east, Putin's criminal regime wages cruel imperialist war against Ukraine. Netanyahu's extremist government is committing genocide against the Palestinian people as we speak. We see the far right rising. And the billionaire class, the tech moguls, the oligarchs, they tighten the grip over our societies. Now the future they are building is obviously dystopian.
Greetings from the scary Poland you keep hearing about. Few years ago, Poland was often making the headlines. Law and justice was reported to destroy our democracy. So when the liberal Donald Tusk framed the elections as a fight between good and evil, it clicked in the Western media. But now you don't hear so much about Poland. Now you don't read alarming headlines about the authoritarian takeover of public media in The Guardian or El País. But the world is not a movie with the villain and the hero. Our current government is not the hero, but the same cynical, self-serving elite that have been keeping our country from progress for decades. What changed is the direction of the propaganda, because Tusk did take over public TV. Now it's his propaganda device. The now ruling liberals have painted themselves as progressives, but it's been almost 2 years and abortion is still illegal. Civil partnerships for LGBT plus people, non-existent. When Netanyahu was supposed to come to Poland, the government even passed a resolution that he won't be arrested. They broke our own constitution to suspend their right to asylum. And of course, withholding funding for public healthcare. And of course, they reward their political cronies with contracts in public companies. They side with developers, condemning young people to housing poverty. They push for deregulation in the interest of the rich. But you wouldn't read about it in the New York Times. You don't hear about it from your liberal NGO friends. This is the establishment in Poland. Two sides of the same coin. The nationalist conservatives versus the neoliberals who stole the progressive aesthetics and rendered it meaningless.
It's dictatorships, it's wars, exploding inequalities, attacks on basic human rights, and democracies gradually turning into playgrounds for oligarchs. And what we say is the liberal establishment. For years in Poland and in many other countries, they claim that they are the shield against the far right, but they are not. They hollowed our democracies, they impoverished the workers, they slashed the public services. They are the political fuel of the far right.
That is why more and more people are fed up with the current political system. Every strategy plays out within a certain context, and this is our context. And Razem is there to counter this system, not to join it. We don't have billionaire donors, we don't have big corporations throwing their money at us, we don't have our own media networks. Yes, we do have our values and people who are ready to fight for them.
We might not have the money, but we have the people to communicate, to ground ourselves, to make sure we are a part of the right discussion. There are great opportunities for the left that manage to take that chance. We must always be in dialogue and we must always be responsive to the needs of people.
We talked here about the resistance, but the resistance itself is not enough. What we do need is power. We must confront those forces with the kind of power that is born out of anger and hope. These were the emotions that once drove the democratic left. We must reclaim the anger. We must reclaim that hope, because that's the only way to reclaim our future. And when we started Razem, we had no money, we had no established structures, we had no media outlets. We obviously swam against the current. But what we had was that anger and the hope that fueled us. And today, thousands show up at Razem's rallies. This year alone, 10,000 people signed up and joined the party. And what brought them together was anger and hope.
Yes, we do have the kind of power that comes from anger and hope. But a very important practical question remains. How can we win if the game is rigged? I cannot tell you how to get to the point where you form a majority government, because we're not there yet. But I can tell you how we managed to reach millions of voters who haven't heard of us before.
Our job is not to organize everyone who agrees with us. Our job is to get more people to agree with us. And I think too many people feel that the left might not be as inclusive as we like. I think too many people, and now I talk from my own party, come to our meetings and they feel like they don't know the lingo. They don't really know all the things they need. We must accept that people come to our parties, to our movement, without being fully educated socialists, feminists, anti-racist, environmentalists, and activists. We need to educate people, but we can only do that if they're already there. So we need to have a tolerant left, a left that doesn't judge, doesn't expect people to come fully formed to our movement. We sometimes use our words, we say like, this is fascism, or this will create inequality, or this is privatization. And we think that's an argument. We think that people recognize all what's behind it. And then we're surprised that people somehow choose inequality, fascism, or privatization. We need to explain why this is a problem in people's everyday lives.
If the words make you sound like a part of the establishment, it's time to unlearn them the hard way. If our language doesn't gain us voters, we don't change the voters, we change the language. Many people saw us as the part of the liberal political class, the one that lectured them, the one that looked down on them. And this is crucial, because no one wants to be lectured or corrected. No one wants to be looked down on with sympathy. No one really needs a left that bends over you with pity. I am marginalized and underprivileged. Therefore, I will vote for the left, said no voter ever. People want solutions. you can talk over people's heads about their reality, their troubles, their lives, and make it an example in your narrative. Even the best intentions don't fix the fact that you are not them. We are here to fix the problems, not the people. It's skyrocketing energy bills, or the developers tearing apart our neighborhoods, shitty food in the school canteen, or long waiting lines to see the doctor. Voters don't want to hear progressive buzzwords. They want solutions.
Fighting the far right is not a question of aesthetics. And what we see on the streets is that people, I think Odin was talking about that, they don't want to hear big words about fascism. They don't want to hear moralizing sermons. They've been lectured too long by liberals who later turned their life into misery. So they don't want to hear it anymore. What they ask are simple questions. What kind of future in practice do you offer? And is this future better for me than the one that the far right offers? These are valid questions. And we need simple answers for these questions, practical, down-to-earth answers.
And the next question is how to reach them. For years, we have been avoiding right-wing media outlets. We've been self-righteously avoiding appearing next to the politicians who attack minorities, journalists who tailor all their questions and topics to amplify right-wing narrative. And we've been right. But what did we win? Another moral high ground award? We left millions of people who were fed right-wing propaganda daily, without any counter, without any choice. And if I have to bear some discomfort and some holier-than-thou criticism in order to show millions of people that there is a real choice, I will bear it. Liberal media will never accept us. They will never accept us unless we bow in tribute and become an obedient wing of the establishment. They're not neutral, and their agenda is as dangerous as the conservative one. They will make sure that the rich become richer and that the millions of working people will not unite in solidarity against the system. So we had to find our own voice and broadcast it on our own terms.
We need to point to the fact that it's that establishment that turned the life of the millions into a chip in the financial casino. And we have to promise that we can break that game, that we can build affordable housing. We have to point out that they want to close hospitals and that we will defend the hospitals, that we can make the country work for you, make the country a place where you will be able to afford education, to start a family, and the far right has not the answer. You do not want your country to work only for the rich, and the far right, they serve the rich. They do not serve you. The answer is not egoism. The answer is solidarity. Now, the young generation in Poland, but I believe that's the case of many, many countries in Europe, is fed up with the establishment. They want the alternative to the broken system. And the truth is, it is either us or the far right that will be that alternative. And this is our practical experience.
Is this universal recipe? Probably not. Our countries face different threats. Our neoliberal elites wear different masks. But my message is, we are not helpless. We can gain new ground.
When those patronizing elites praise the crumbling status quo, be it on the pages of New York Times, of Gazeta Wyborcza, of El País, of The Guardian, it is a completely futile exercise. Because either we will transform our economies and rebuild our societies on the principle of solidarity, or the far right will prevail. And that's the real stake of the struggle.
I believe that we are the ones that stand between fascists and power. I believe our task is extremely important.
We are here to fight fascism. We are here to secure the rights for the people. And we are here to deliver the change that the world so badly needs. To do this, we must be able to defend ourselves and build new alliances based on the respect for democracy and international law. We will defend the right to freedom for Ukraine, for Palestine, for Greenland, for everyone. We will fight fascism and all sorts of bullies. We will make politics for people without private airplanes.
I believe we can do that when we do things like we do here. We can do it when we learn from each other. I've already taken a lot of notes, like this book is now more valuable than it was just a couple of hours ago. But if we're going to build this left that managed to be a part of communities, then the only way we can do that is also learn from the experiences of others.
Sharing experiences, listening to each other, it's just the first step to grow stronger. But we must be ready to question our old buzzwords.
We have to be bold. We do not need austerity. Europe needs massive public investment in affordable housing, in quality healthcare, in science, and in green infrastructure, and new, well-paying jobs. Because this is our weapon to stop the far right. This is our weapon to protect our democracy.
Our welfare, our communities, our social security, these are perhaps our most important protection against fascism. We have seen it again and again. When people feel socially and economically insecure, that's when the Putins, the Trumps, and the Melonis gain support. That's why it's so dangerous when neoliberal parties cut our welfare, when they make the working class poorer, or finance the militarization by cut-downs in hospitals and schools and so on. Yes, we need a defense that works, but we also need welfare that works. From day one, we have supported sending weapons to Ukraine because we defend the people's right to self-determination. And we go against Putin's brutal invasion. Our support is strong and deep, and it will continue to be so. We will strengthen our defense, make ourselves independent of the US, and work closer with especially our Nordic neighbors. At the same time, we will work tirelessly for peace, dialogue, and mutual disarmament. When we say defense, we actually mean defense. Never again aggressive wars like in Iraq and Afghanistan. We will always lead the fight for peace.
We live in dark times, but not as dark times as the left has done before. We live in dark times. The forces massed against us are strong, but we stand together, and we've done this before. That's why we can do it again. This is our story, and it's never been as true as right now.
Historically, solidarity and cooperation were always the weapons of the democratic left.
We need a green transition. The destruction of our planet, it doesn't just stop because political leaders stop talking about it.
Because we can make our economies work again for millions, not just for billionaires. We can stop aggressive regimes. We can defend international law. We can ensure that human rights are respected. We can make Putin, Netanyahu, and other war criminals face the International Criminal Court.
There is a need for socialist parties because we insist that the strongest weapons we have against Trump and Putin and their likes, that is our welfare, our solidarity, and our freedom. And in these dangerous times, we are ready.
We fight for the values. We fight for change. We fight for the people and the planet.
Together, we stand, a strong fighting left, for the people, for the planet, for freedom.
I truly believe we can do so. We can reclaim the future for the people and for the planet.
And it's our responsibility to win.